We'll get it together. For those of you who don't know, I'm Precinct Captain Soccer War with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commanding General Yohana out of 1 West 125th Street in Harlem, New York. Here in Memphis, Tennessee, holding it down, um, and have been for some time here in the city of Memphis. We go live with classes Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. So if you're on here now, you just getting associated with what it is that we do here, man. Hopefully this live stream will have you getting locked in and staying tight with us. You know what I'm saying? Um, for all my brothers and sisters that's tuning in on YouTube, on Facebook, Angry Black Man Media, that's tuning in on my ISUPK Memphis page. Y'all already know what it is. Y'all know how we get down, man. I want to come live today just to holler at y'all about everything that's been going on and transpiring in this country and in the media in the last week. Everybody is, the whole world seems to be in a tizzy, focusing in on what's going on with the upcoming U.S. election concerning Donald Trump. Early this week there was an assassination attempt on his life. I believe it was last Friday, last Thursday. Then you had the Republican National Convention happen this whole past week. Donald Trump announced his running mate, J.D. Vance, who's a uh, senator or governor, forget from which state, but the Republicans, have established who they're gonna have going to the polls for the election this November. And then news dropped today that Joe Biden was officially resigning or dropping out of the race for the Democrats. So the Democrats have their convention coming up in a couple of weeks in August, and there's going to be some time now for them to have to decide who they're going to put forth to compete against Donald Trump in the upcoming election. And being at the age that I am now, somewhat middle age, I've lived through several of these presidential election cycles here in America. And one of the things that's become very apparent and relevant to me today is that this whole election cycle, the whole run up to the election, all of the debates and the conventions and the primaries, is very reminiscent of what happens every year in this country with the sports that we have here in America. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost as though the same way that sports is uh, sports for a lot of people provides an opportunity for them to exercise their tribalist uh, juices, so to speak. Naturally, as human beings on this earth, we all have a sense of, wanting to belong to a group, wanting to represent something that's greater than us, wanting to be a part of a community or a part of something that's bigger than who we are. And so one of the ways historically that the leaders of societies have been able to allow people to exercise that is through sports and entertainment. And particularly the physical sports that we have here in the Western world go all the way back to the days of the Greeks and the Romans. You understand? And it's important to understand history and how societies worked in the past to really be able to comprehend how society works today. Not a lot is different in the world today than it was, let's say, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. And even though we live in a time with all of this modern technology, and we live in a time with all of these quote unquote advances in societies and social hierarchies and things like that, if you study history and you understand where we've come from as a people, it's very easy to see that we haven't really changed that much as human beings over the last 2,000 or so years. And so, what allows for people in the society to stay in order and to stay in line and to really, allow for things to run smoothly is you have to, people who are at the bottom or the people who are the poorest in the society, they have to be pacified in some way that those who are at the top got to keep the people at the bottom from rising up and from rebelling and from, there being all out war and an overthrow of the government and an overthrow of the powers that be. And one of the ways that the Romans instituted a policy of appeasing the people at the bottom was they gave them bread and circus. I I can't remember exactly. I know I might have read it in the book. I know for sure I've seen it in the movie. But if you've heard of the term bread and circus, that's the term that's used to describe the way that the people who are in powerful positions in society keep the people at the bottom just kind of stuck and complacent with the way that things are in their life. So here in America, in the Western world, and really all over the world, you know, if you go to the different countries throughout the world, you have soccer and what they call football. You have baseball. You know, over there in Central Asia, I know you have cricket, which is a very major sport. Right now, this summer, you got the Olympics that's coming up. That's going to be in Paris. You know, here in America, you got basketball, you got football, you got hockey. And for people who are really into the sports and really into the athletics, you know, there's a cycle that occurs every year that really keeps people locked in and rooting for their favorite team and really pulling for their, you know, the players with their narratives and their stories that keep you engaged and keep you interested in certain characters that arise throughout different times that, you know, really cause you to want to pull for them and to want to see them win and to want to see them reach that next level and to, you know, get to that new plateau. And I think that now in my middle age as a man, particularly as a black man here in America, I'm beginning to understand that that is what politics is for a certain demographic of people in this country. For the life of me, you know, ever since I was 18 years old, around the time I turned 18 was the time of the election between George Bush and John Kerry, right? So I think that was the 2000 election. Around the 2000 election is when I became my first time being eligible to vote. And I remember with that 2000 election, you know, not 2000, goddamn, was it 2004? The 2004 election was the first time that I was really able to vote. And I was excited to be able to vote, and I was excited to be able to contribute and participate in the whole democratic process in this country. And I remember going out and voting for John Kerry. And I believe that was the first time that, you know, because John Kerry was coming up after the Clintons. This is after the two-term Clinton run. You know, they tried to get Clinton out of office because he was letting Monica Lewinsky suck him off in the Oval Office. You know what I'm saying? They had the dress and the whole nine with the Clintons and how wicked and crooked his administration was. But, you know, at the time, Clinton was like a cool president. And then I remember George Bush came on the scene. George Bush was a former governor of Texas. He had owned the Texas Rangers. Of course, George H.W. Bush Sr. Was at that time really villainized for being, you know, head of the CIA during the days of the Iran Contra. Being in this head of the CIA during the days of the Iran Contra scandal. Then he was president during the time of the Gulf War, and so there was a lot of, you know, talk about the corruption and the wickedness of the Republican regime under the Bushes and under the Reagans. And so I remember being able to get the chance to vote. And I knew I didn't want George Bush to win. I didn't want the Republicans to win. And if they, you know, George Bush wins, it's another nepotistic situation, you know what I'm saying, where a man who father who did all these great things was now ushering his son into the presidency. And it was like, we don't want to see, you know, this intergenerational corruption continuing. So I remember going to the polls and casting my vote for John Kerry, right? And John Kerry, I believe, won the popular vote. Y'all can look this up. I believe John Kerry had won the popular vote, but with the Electoral College, it came down to the state of Florida. And with the state of Florida, that's when they had the miscount and they had to, you know, go back and do all of the manual counting the votes and looking at the damn stamps and the ballots and stuff like that. But George Bush's brother, Jeb Bush, was the governor in Florida. So for the presidency to be decided in 2004, it came down to votes being counted in the state where the Republican nominee's brother was the goddamn governor. I could just remember, and I remember it's damn near like watching the football game in the fourth quarter, and it's, you know, damn near tie game. Is, you know, there's a few seconds left on the clock. It's a 4-point game, and you can't kick a field goal to tie it up. You know what I'm saying? It ain't enough time to be able to put a drive together. You got to get the ball in the end zone on this play here now, or your team loses the Super Bowl and you got to watch the other team celebrate. And I remember them doing that recount and counting them ballots, and they came out and said that George Bush won, and John Kerry did not challenge the ruling. No, John Kerry did not. No, I'm tripping. John Kerry was in 2000. John Kerry was in 2000, and George Bush became president. Then 9/11 happened the year after that, and so he had his whole first 4 years, right? I'm talking about the second term for George Bush. It was his second term, and Al Gore was going against him. And it was Al Gore and George Bush, and the whole recount happened. And then when the counts came back that George Bush had won, Al Gore didn't even challenge it. Al Gore was like, "All right, B, you got it." And George Bush gave his acceptance speech. And I remember being at home watching, like, this is corrupt. This ain't fair. How did Gore win the popular vote, but then he didn't get elected president? This is just cheating. It ain't fair. And it was like watching the Super Bowl and seeing Tom Brady come back against the Falcons, and it's like, damn, bro, like, why he always gotta win? Or it's like seeing Patrick Mahomes playing against Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, and you like, all Lamar got to do is run the ball, man. Stop dropping back and trying to be a pocket passer. Go ahead and run down the field, and it's like you rooting for somebody to do something that you just know that they're not able to do. And that's what American politics is for a certain demographic of people. And it's, I don't, if you go back in time, now I'm going back to 2004, the first time I was able to vote, because that was the time to me that really mattered when it came to politics. Being 18, being impressionable, wanting to, participate in the American system. I remember casting my vote for Al Gore, and I remember believing that casting that vote counted. I remember standing in the line and going in the little booth, and I felt like I was participating in the American, way. And then to watch George Bush still win the second term, even though he lost the popular vote, it was like, man, this whole thing is a sham. And then after that, of course, after George Bush's second term, Barack Obama came along, and 2008, it was like that was the new cycle of reeling people back into politics is when Barack Obama came on the scene. And of course, for a large demographic of people in this country, Barack Obama, that brown face represented something that was evil or something that was different about America, or a change that a lot of people were afraid of. And of course, for a lot of black and brown people in America, Barack Obama having an opportunity to become president was almost like it was a win for us, even though this man did not have black American blood in him, even though, he had no ties to us ethnically. It still was like, oh, a brown face in the White House. And so for 8 years, black and brown people was caught up in the whole, swell of the political process because of Barack Obama. Then, of course, after Barack Obama, here comes Donald Trump. Donald Trump with the whole bread and circus show of him being a celebrity, him being a famous guy, him being a rich man, coming out talking about grabbing women by the vagina, all of the racist views that he had about black and brown people, all of the propaganda that he spoke against the Mexicans and people coming across the border. And again, all of that rhetoric and all of that, vitriol locked people back in to the whole political process all over again. Donald Trump won, became president, did what he did for 4 years. Then here comes, you know, Joe Biden. Joe Biden, he ain't Hillary Clinton. He ain't a sucker. He ain't a chump. He stands up to Donald Trump, fights him and battles him, and they argue in the debates. And then, Joe Biden becomes president. And then here we are 4 years later, and here's another cycle, and here's more drama. Donald Trump, 37 felony convictions, but he's still running for the president of the United States. All of the lie, they have a debate. Joe Biden can't even speak. He's so goddamn old. He can't remember anything. The brother should be in hospice or sitting in a, old man's home somewhere, but they got him up there trying to debate. Donald Trump is up there lying out of both jaw legs. You know what I'm saying? Lying, liar, pants on fire. That man is burning up there, telling all the lies about his record and about the economy and what he's done for the country. And at a time when it seemed like neither of these people are fit to be president, neither of these people are intelligent enough, have the wherewithal to be able to put together intelligent sentences. How can these people represent what is supposed to be the greatest country on the earth? As soon as everybody is really realizing like this is a clown show, here comes the assassination attempt. Oh no, they tried to kill him. They tried to murder him. They're scared of him. The powers that be don't want to see him be the president again. He's exposing all of the wickedness and he's showing what's really going on in Washington. Now there's another narrative to draw people back in. Now there's another story to be told to really get you watching the election cycle, to really get your hopes up and your dreams and your aspirations tied up in who's going to be the next president. For the younger generation of children, it's the same thing that happened to me in 2004. This is your opportunity to participate in the American system. It's your opportunity to affect change and to use your voice and to be heard. When really none of it changes anything in this country. None of it makes a difference in the homes of the people who are suffering in this economy and the people who are being treated like second class citizens, to the people who are being neglected by the government, being demonized and in society. You know what I'm saying? Who are being cast away and discarded as though they are nothing. All of this bread and circus that's taking place on a national stage concerning these politics and who's going to be the next president really changes nothing when it comes to the bottom line of how you're going to feed your family, how you gonna keep a roof over your head, how you gonna be able to pay your gas bill and your electric bill. Meanwhile, they're keeping everybody preoccupied with what's going on with these old ass white men at the top and seats of power and authority whose children are never going to have to want for nothing and who are never going to have to really face any of the real issues or problems that we're dealing with as people in this country. What's being ignored and what's not being talked about is that the US dollar has lost all of its value on the world stage because of the BRICS nations coming together and Saudi Arabians turning their back on the economic deal that they had with America for the oil to be sold in U.S. dollars. The economy is failing. The crunch that you're feeling going to the grocery store, the crunch that you're feeling trying to pay your bills, the crunch that you're feeling trying to live up to the standards of what it means to be successful in America, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get harder. The days are going to get darker. The cold is going to get colder. The heat is going to get hotter. And everybody is just stuck in the lull talking about who's going to be the next president. And who cares who's going to be the next president? Since when has who becomes president changed anything concerning how you pay your bills or concerning how you feed your children? I've never seen a president get elected and, make make me paying my bills any easier. And if you go again, history is the greatest is it's the greatest revealer for what's coming down the pipe. If you go and study a little bit of history of America, if you go study a little bit of history of Western civilization, the way that these governments are set up, the way that these the power structure is situated, all of these elections and all of this, who's the president or who's leading the parliament or who's the, the what they call it in Europe, the prime minister, it doesn't change the bottom line. It doesn't change what's happening in the everyday lives of the ordinary average person. And particularly for black and brown people in America, for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, what matters is not who is in the White House. What matters is who is in your house. We have a lot of problems with our people today concerning dysfunctional relationships that men have with the women, you know what I'm saying, that husbands have with their wives, that fathers have with the mothers of their children. It's a dysfunction that we have, within the family structure with fathers and their sons, fathers and their daughters, mothers and their daughters, mothers and their sons, rather than us being focused on who's going to be running for the next president or who we're going to go run out and elect and vote. We should be focusing on what's going on inside of our homes and in our community. And that's what we specialize in the ISUPK. We are not a people that sit and look for salvation to come from the people who are at the top. We're not looking at the White House to save black people. We're not looking at the governor's mansion or word to come down from the mayor's office on the solutions that are in place to fix and heal the suffering that our people are facing. Like, we are the ones that are responsible for redeeming ourselves in this place. We are the ones that's responsible for making sure that there's a roof over our head and clothes on our back and food on our table. And what we have to understand is that the system that we are operating within is designed for us to fail. is designed to keep us crippled and to keep us, uh, uh, you know, frustrated and oppressed and hopeless. It's designed for you to feel like, man, I got to go out and rob and steal and kill and hustle and sell this and sell that in order to be able to get ahead. When the reality is that's playing right into their hands. It's playing right into the way that the game was set up for you to fail. What our people need desperately at this time is not more bread and circus. What we need is brotherhood. What Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people need to be doing right now is not worrying about who's going to be, the next Democratic nominee to run for president. We need to be worrying about what are we doing and what can we do to make it easier on ourselves and our community so that our children are no longer starving, so that we ain't got to go outside, in the streets and worry about, getting robbed, worry about our children getting murdered, worry about our daughters being turned into 304s and our sons being turned into LGBTQs. You understand? Like there's the sickness that exists in America today is largely I don't want to say it's a spiritual one, but it's a better word that I'm looking for. Like the ills of society today are moral in nature. The president doesn't change the morality of the nation. The president doesn't change the morality of the communities and the neighborhoods that make up this nation. And that's what the time that we're living in now should be about. The time we're living in should be about addressing our immorality, should be about addressing our lawlessness and our rebellion against everything that is right and everything that is honorable and everything that is righteous. We live in a time where honor and integrity doesn't even mean anything. And all the people who we look at or look to be leaders, or the ones that we look to be in positions of, prestige, they're the biggest criminals and crooks and liars and schemers that have ever existed. So what is the message that's being sent to the people? If you want to have success, if you want to live a good life, if you want to be somebody, then you're going to have to get down and dirty like Donald Trump. You're going to have to get down and dirty like Joe Biden. And it's like, man, it's, I don't know, a lot of people in the world, I don't know if they can relate to this, but it's very demoralizing being Black in this country and living, in communities that are impoverished. Even though on an individual basis, a lot of us, we live decently, man. We got good jobs. We're able to make a little money, pay our bills, shop and have a little comforts and things like that. But there are a lot of people who are, living below the poverty line. And what's frustrating is to be living in those conditions, only, desiring a little bit of help. But then you see the government give $100 billion to Ukraine to fight against Russia. It's like, damn, you got $100 billion for Ukraine, but the people in Houston, Texas had to wait 7 days to get emergency funds to recover from a hurricane. We hear all of this talk in the news and the media about the America in debt, and America owes the debt is 780 trillion dollars, which is some goofy, ridiculous amount of money. But yet they get $500 million to send over to Ukraine, and more money going to Taiwan to help them fight against China. And it's like, damn, what about the people that's starving right here at home? What about the people that's, mothers don't know how they're gonna get their kids to school in a couple of weeks? It's like there's, the bread and the circus of this place is what keep people locked in, is what keep people distracted. But there's real problems, man. There's real stuff going on in the world, real issues that we dealing with, and it's not being addressed because we too busy focusing on who's gonna be the next president. And I'm guilty of it because, again, I may not be caught up in the whole theatrics of the political process here in America, but I'm absolutely caught up in, football's getting started in 2 months. Hell, EA just dropped college football. I done played about 30 games of college football in the past 4 days. While they trying to kill Donald Trump, while, the goddamn, I ain't even talk about the shutdown of all of the major corporations and the banks and the hospitals and the airlines that happened Thursday night. You know, I work for a major shipping. I work for a major distributor down here in Memphis, Tennessee, and I was at my slavery at my job Wednesday night when everything that at that facility had to halt for about 2 hours because there was a glitch in the computer system. They couldn't access their computers. And everybody was saying, "Damn, last time this happened, man, somebody broke into the company servers and held the company for ransom, putting on their computers that you got to pay this amount if you want to get back access to your computers, and we're gonna shut this whole thing down." And guess what? The company had to pay that money. That thing happened on Thursday night. You think it's a coincidence that after the debate that they had, when Joe Biden and Donald Trump had a horrible presentation, Donald Trump gets an assassination attempt on his life, which I'm not going to speculate on what happened because who knows. But it looked very staged. Your man dodged a bullet like he Neo in the Matrix. Now they showed the bullets that the cat had in the gun, right? He had hollow tips, customized death dealer bullets, and the president gets turns his head at the last second, gets grazed by a bullet, but all he got is a cut with a little trickle of blood coming down his face. And immediately after getting shot at, almost getting his head blown off, he stands up and sticks his fist in the air for a photo op and tells the people to fight, fight. And you think this ain't WWE on steroids? You think this isn't, the next time on the next time on the 2024 election? What happens after Donald Trump's attempt on his life? How will he recover? How will he bounce back? It's playing out like a soap opera. I wasn't there. I can't speak on what's real and what's not. But you couldn't write it. You couldn't write better drama. Scandal ain't got nothing on real life in 2024. Game of Thrones ain't got nothing on the Republican National Convention and Joe Biden dropping out of the race. You know what I'm saying? And then now there's who's going to be the next nominee. You understand? They got Kamala Harris. They talking about Kamala Harris. Hey, but don't be surprised. You know Michelle Obama in the wings. Oh, man, look, you ain't heard about this hot shot senator that's coming from, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, coming from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And you finna see all types of people that you didn't even know existed in the political world coming out of nowhere. And it's just like watching a soap opera. And just in a very tense moment, here comes, I remember being young, grandma watching soap operas, and there was this cat on this show called As the World Turns. There was this old smooth cat named Victor. And Victor used to pop up he used to pop up at the weirdest times to just come in and, sweep the woman off her feet, or some man arguing, or some woman, somebody about to kiss his woman, and here comes Victor come in the room, and I remember seeing the camera pan, and you just see Victor standing there looking. And the camera zoom in on his face, and then it fade to black. And it's like, oh man, you got to sit here and wait through the commercial to see what's going to happen when they come back. What is Victor going to do now that he's back on the scene? But that's what's happening with this presidential election. And for anybody to sit back and look at it objectively, there's no way this stuff could be real. There's no way that this has an actual impact on the world at large, or on your personal ability to be able to take care of your family and provide for your kids. And if that's the case, then why are we all engulfed in it? Why are we so sucked up into it? What more could we be doing and getting accomplished as a people, as a community, if we weren't focused on waiting to see if someone who gets elected is going to be able to save us on that? When has anything that a politician has said or done actually affected change in our community? When has your favorite basketball team, winning or losing, changed, the things that you got going on in life? I've been a Dallas Cowboys fan for 20 years of my life. Every year, I'm looking at the roster. I'm watching the training camp. Hearing about the draft picks. The Madden come out. I play with them in the Madden. I'm thinking the team could be good. Then they go out there on the field and they lose every year. Every year we get to the playoffs and there's a chance that we could win it. There's the fourth quarter where Dez Bryant catches the pass. He stumbles and reaches for the goal line and then gets tackled. Then they come back and say he didn't catch the ball. Guess what? The Cowboys lose. Oh, man, it's sad. It's messed up. You go to work, they talk trash for a week, and then it's over. So what? They lost. Better luck next time. Well, that's politics. That's the election every 4 years. But every 4 years, man, when that election roll around, they got a way to suck you in. They got a way to get you engulfed and engaged and just really, deceived. And right now, with everything that's going on in the world, this is not the time to be deceived, man. This is not the time to be lulled to sleep by the propaganda, by the distractions. Now is the time to be really focusing on what you need to do in order to change your life so that you and your family and your children can survive what's coming to this earth, what's coming to this nation. We are living in a time where the only thing that is going to sustain you is knowing how to live the right way. It's knowing what is required of you from the Most High in order for you to navigate your way through these times. The condition in America with this economy is only going to get worse. And right now we are living in a immoral society. And what happens in an immoral society when things break down? When the norm, societal norms or the protections that you're supposed to be afforded in a society are no longer available to you. It's gonna be dog eat dog, man. It's gonna be every man for himself. Um, and it's unfortunate that there's a lot of brothers and sisters who are going to suffer in that time. I wanted to do this live today and to bring this, to have this discussion to let brothers and sisters know that you don't have to be by yourself. You don't have to resort to the measures that some people are going to have to resort to in these times that are coming up. There is a way out for you. There is a way for you to escape the pain and the suffering and the judgment that's going to come down. But you're going to have to make some efforts to get your life together. You're going to have to make some efforts to do right and to be better. And for me, the answer is in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Command of General Yohana out of 1 West 125th Street in Harlem, New York. You understand? In this school, we learn how in the school we teach you how to rededicate your life to being who the Most High called you to be, to live for a higher purpose, to aspire to be something greater than what society has told you that you're capable of being. And right now, that's what's needed. There's no promises or guarantees about anything in life. And there is nowhere where it's written that you're supposed to be rich or life's supposed to be easy or you're supposed to be comfortable at all times. And so we don't promise you any of that. What we do tell you is that we can show you the truth concerning your life and how it was meant for you to be living it. And if there are things in your life that you know that you want to do better or to get better at, if there's, you have shortcomings or failings or things that you know are not sustainable for you, come get some help. Come change your life. Come get a new perspective. But to sit around and just be distracted by the bread and circus show every day, all day, the time for that is over. If you're comfortable with that, that's on you. I'm not comfortable with it. And I don't see how anybody could be. I thank the Most High for allowing me to come into the ISUPK when I did to gain the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that the Most High has allowed me to obtain through Commander General Yohana. And because of that, I'm able to see the writing on the wall. Because of that, I'm able to see through the smoke and the mirrors. I'm able to see through the bread and the circus. And I'm able to realize that there's a lot of tough challenges that's facing a lot of people. And I wouldn't want you brothers and sisters to be caught off guard. So don't get caught up in the hype. Donald Trump, whoever the Democratic nominee is going to be, there's a lot more pressing issues. And with these live streams and with me coming to talk to y'all, we're going to be addressing them, in the days and the weeks to come, hopefully going forward. This will be something I'm able to do on a more routine basis. What is a staple though is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. The Israelite School of UPK has classes here in Memphis, Tennessee. You brothers and sisters out there tuning in, if you got loved ones, family members in Memphis, Tennessee, get in contact with us here. When we do go live with the classes, if you brothers and you tuning in on TikTok, if you got questions, if you got things that you want to know, things that you've always believed or heard concerning the Bible that you just really wasn't sure of, or didn't have the answers to. If you need the answers, you come into the ISUPK, come to these classes, you ask your questions, and you'll be able to get the answers you need. You know what I'm saying? We'll give you the breakdown straight from the mouth of the Most High Himself out of this book called the Bible. The things that we teach out of here, we didn't make them up ourselves. We didn't write them. You understand? We just men who dedicated our lives to obeying the Most High and doing what He called us to do. And because of that, with our experience and with our dedication to learning, to studying, we have the answers. So now is the time where the answers to those questions are very important. So don't forsake the opportunity for you to be able to get those answers, for you to be able to understand what it is that's taking place and what's going on. And through that, let's be better. Let's become who the Most High called us to be. You understand? With that, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all get to it, man. Sunday night, I'm getting up out of here. But yeah, I just wanted to address everything that's been going on this past week. Don't think that, you know, this is all just happenstance. Don't think this is all just coincidence. This is very much what happens during every election cycle. But over the years, over the various cycles that I've been able to live through, the activity is ramping up. And there are things going on, large scale maneuvers taking place in the earth that aren't being discussed. They aren't being talked about. Everybody's focusing on Donald Trump, the whole election. But there's a lot of real stuff that's taking place all over the world. And you're going to look up and it's going to be too late for you to do anything about it. So it's our job to come out here and blow the trumpet, sound the alarm, give you a heads up. Lord, allow y'all take heed and just inquire a little bit further about what it is that I'm talking about what it is that we're discussing. And, you got some questions. If you're seeking to learn, then Lord, allow we're able to give you the answers you need. But with that, Priest and Captain Soccer War, the Israelite School of UPK down here in Memphis. I'm about to tune out. I'm going to holler at y'all. Facebook, YouTube. Lord be with y'all.